It has been damaging. But I also believe the last thing we should do right now is rerun those arguments.
He once called it a disaster, a mistake that would haunt Britain for a generation. Now, he holds the keys to Downing Street, and he's choosing not to undo it. This is the story of a politician who spent years dreaming of bringing Britain back toward Europe, only to pull back the moment he reached the top. Why would a man who called Brexit catastrophic suddenly go quiet on reversing it? Did his convictions change, or just his circumstances? Let's break it down. Andy Burnham built his political career far from the corridors of Brussels. As mayor of Great Manchester, he earned a nickname that stuck, the King of the North. He spoke for a region that felt ignored by London, sidelined by globalization, and tired of traditional politics. For years, Burnham was one of the clearest voices warning that leaving the EU would hurt working communities. He called Brexit a blow to trade, jobs, and Britain's standing. And more than once, he made his views plain, that one day the UK should rejoin. That directness won him fans among Remainers. It also marked him as an outsider, someone political insiders assumed would never actually lead the country. They were wrong. Fast forward through years of political turmoil and economic stagnation, and Burnham made his move. Before long, he was standing outside 10 Downing Street, taking the oath as Prime Minister. And almost immediately, the tone shifted. The politician who used to speak freely about Europe started choosing his words very carefully. Why the sudden shift? Because running a city is very different from leading a nation. As Prime Minister, Burnham has to answer to a deeply divided public, a fractured parliament, in a country exhausted by years of Brexit arguments. Polling shows most voters want stability, not a replay of the fights that defined the last decade. Burnham knows that pushing too hard to rejoin would trigger an instant political war. So instead of making big promises, his team is taking a quieter path. Small, pragmatic steps without touching the two biggest red lines, the single market and the customs union. So what does this pragmatic strategy actually look like in practice? Take trade first. British exporters are still dealing with extra paperwork, new border checks, and higher costs. Joining the single market would solve those issues quickly, but it would also mean accepting EU rules on immigration. That's a trade-off many voters still reject. So Burnham's government is focusing on smaller targets instead. Think targeted food and agricultural deals, recognizing professional qualifications across borders, and aligning product standards where it makes practical sense. Then there's defense and security. Given global instability and rising tensions across Eastern Europe, both London and Brussels want closer coordination. Expect Burnham to push hard here. Security cooperation is one of the few areas where nearly everyone agrees. Migration, on the other hand, is the real political landmine. Any return to free movement is off the table. Instead, look for narrow, technical fixes, like simplified visas for students and specialized workers. All of this points to a bigger question. Is there a middle path for Britain and Europe? Some policy experts point to models like associate membership, giving Britain access to specific programs without full membership obligations. Others call it a tiered Europe, where countries like Britain or Norway sit in an outer ring, closely aligned on key issues, but technically outside the main bloc. For Burnham, a model like that might be the only workable option. It lets him deliver real economic progress without reopening the massive political fight that tore the country apart. Whether European leaders would actually agree to that deal is a completely different story. Brussels has always been wary of letting non-members pick and choose the benefits. So, the man who called Brexit a disaster now finds himself managing its consequences, one cautious step at a time. Whether that approach is smart strategy or just political survival, time will tell. If you want to see how Britain got here in the first place, check out our full video on the original Brexit vote and the chaotic decade that followed, right over here. And if you want to stay updated on what happens next in UK politics, hit that subscribe button.